approach.
With all of the genre revivals going on, from point-and-click adventures to 3D platformers and even now World War II first-person shooters, fans of flight combat sims are still patiently waiting their turn for a renaissance of their dogfighting genre. Though it was pushed back to 2018 fairly recently, Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown is looking well placed to sate that appetite over a decade after the last entry in the series. There's lots of moving parts in Ace Combat 7's plot, just like a Tom Clancy novel set in this fictional world. Erusia launches a surprise attack on this international coalition of countries, including Osea, and they grab control of the International Space Elevator. With large parts of the Osean fleet wiped out in the attack, there's just a couple of aircraft carriers and a motley selection of aircraft still in operation. And this goes some way to explaining why you're using classic fighter jets like the F-14D Super Tomcat and FA-18F that feature early on in the game. Yes, while a fictional world, you're still using kind of real-world planes in this. The featured mission that we got to play, which is the third in the game, called Two-Pronged Strategy, sees you attacking from the Vulture aircraft carrier in a unified bid to retake the space elevator, first fighting against other fighter jets in the skies over Chopinberg, before a greater menace awaits you with a huge and eye-catching Arsenal Birds drone launcher, which is this kind of huge wedge-shaped plane that can just drop dozens of advanced drones, ironically having been developed by Osea and now turned back against them by Erusia. It's at this point that the mission really kicks off. The first encounter with enemy planes was certainly hectic, but it never felt overwhelming. It's as you manage to clear some of the enemy fighters and the mission sees the Arsenal Birds sweep into the battle that you're suddenly feeling completely outnumbered and outmatched almost. It would be impossible to take out every drone, so you are forced to focus on the Arsenal Bird, trying to pull in behind it and take down each of the dozen or so propellers that keep it flying through the sky. This is actually a fair bit trickier than I expected to do, especially because occasionally a drone might come up behind you and try to get a missile lock. Where you can largely rely on getting a lock and firing off a couple of missiles on enemy jets, aiming and firing a machine gun in the plane's nose is actually relatively difficult. When dogfighting, a large indicator pops up to show that the enemy jet is within range, but you don't have the leading target point so that you can range your target and know where to shoot at. It's always tricky in fighter jet games to hit an enemy plane without this assistance, or, simply being very good at judging distances. In addition to being an action-packed air combat game, this looks simply incredible. It's backed by Unreal Engine 4, but being a flight game, there's just a lot of resources that aren't needed to render the track of a racing game or the crumbling city of a war-torn FPS or whatever it is. The ground is thousands of feet below you, so there's just you, the other planes, and the clouds up in the sky. And it's those clouds which help make the game look so fantastic. Backed by Simul's True Sky Generation system, you've got volumetric clouds and atmospheric data created in real time by your games console. Project Aces have spent a long time not just getting the clouds to look right, but also feel right as you're flying through them. In combat, they can be used to break line of sight, though not necessarily a missile lock, and this lets you escape a fighter on your 6, or makes it difficult for you, in turn, to keep track of them without your plane helping you out. However, flying into a cloud envelops you in its aerosol, cutting off your vision of your surroundings, dampening the sound, although you probably wouldn't hear much over the roar of your jet engine anyway, and generally cutting off your senses from the battle raging outside of it. It's pretty effective with the chase camera, but in cockpit you can see the water droplets streaming across your canopy, potentially even starting to freeze if you stay in the cloud for too long. Between the clouds blocking your view of the horizon, the way that you focus in on whatever enemy fighter you're trying to target, and the numerous loop-the-loops and hard turns that you have to pull to do so, it's pretty easy to get very disorientated within battle. I do find that some of that is helped by switching between third person and the cockpit camera modes, where you then at least have the HUD showing you where level ground is, but then you can lose a great deal of the overall perspective of the battle. So it's a trade-off, but I found myself drawn to the cockpit view much more so than the chase camera, not least because I'd picked the kind of more expert control scheme where the left analog stick rolls the plane instead of the more arcade-friendly turning, which is the default. Of course, if you're playing in VR, you'll be in the cockpit, and while I didn't dive back into this, you can check out my preview of this from a couple of months ago. I do remember, however, that it felt fantastic the last time around with the very natural way that you can simply follow a target by moving your head, and this is assisted by having the head tracking missile locking. Really, that will be the best way to play this game, and Project Aces are currently optimizing the game on PlayStation 4 to devote more resources to making it look better and better in PSVR. I know that I can't wait to dogfight in and out of clouds once more, and the way that the game shuts down your senses just by flying through the clouds is going to be really immersive in VR, definitely. However you plan on playing Ace Combat 7, it's great to see this venerable series and genre making a comeback. Fans will probably wish it was just that little bit sooner, but it's looking like this one might be worth the wait. Thanks for checking out this video, and as always, please do like, subscribe and share it if you've enjoyed it. We'll hopefully have more of Ace Combat 7 from Gamescom, so stay tuned if you want to see more of this game. In the meantime, you can check out our other videos or come visit us over on the6axis.com for more previews, news, reviews and so on. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Goodbye!
Damn, they're agile, and there's too many of them.